Get ready, everyone, and you just might survive. Ruben and Jason are here with their X-Men deep dive. Going through all the X-books is their mission, so get ready for the Learned Edition. Things are getting weird in here. Ruben hopes another sword book gets announced this year. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow, except your mind. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow, except your mind.
Welcome, all you weirdos, acolytes of Prophetess Veronica, and you Beverly, Massachusetts people trapped underneath that energy dome. It is time to receive your 170th Weird Dose of X, the mutant member of your Weird Science podcast family. I am your cosmic ghost hoster, Jason, broadcasting as always from the Wrong Turn studio perched high atop stately Weird Science Tower. And joining me is a man who is about to seal himself inside a cave in the hopes of teaching far future civilizations how to make a proper cup of coffee. It's my pal Ruben. Hey Ruben, how the heck are
you? Doing well. I'm drinking a proper cup of coffee this morning. So
good for you. Good for
life
you.
Life is good. And I'm almost tired of winning every single sport.
Yeah,
Seattle had like an incredible weekend. Our Mariners won, our Sounders won, our Kraken won, our Huskies won.
I stayed up late watching that Mariners last game 5 of that round of the playoffs, so they finally pulled off in what is it, inning 15 or something stupid like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they won last night as we record the first game of their next round. So yeah, definitely on a roll. My wife happened to be away for her visiting her parents this weekend in Pittsburgh, which meant things get a little wild around my place without any supervision. So I ordered more tea. I've been trying to stay away from the tea websites, but there was some more news stories of people talking about 100% tariffs coming back. So I panic purchased like another kilogram of tea.
That's pretty funny. I read about that too. I was like, this doesn't affect me. I mean, although everything in the world is made in China, but it does. But I didn't think of the tea problem.
Yeah, so don't tell my wife, but I spent like another $150 on tea headed my way. It'd be $300 if you put 100% tariffs on top of it. So it would be irresponsible not to buy it. That's the way I look at it. I sometimes hear comic book collectors talking that way, and I think, I'd never talk that way, but I get it. We all have our things.
Actually, I bought all of the ingredients to make bubble tea at my house.
Oh, okay.
And it was about $70, like all put together. Mm-hmm, but I was going to rationalize it by saying I probably spend that in like a month just buying bubble tea from stores.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be wasting money by not spending that money.
Yes,
that's how it works.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of the things that people waste money on, Ruben, do you like number 1 issues of comics?
I don't. I'm not the guy that's like number 1s are for Ruben. I know that's a Jim thing. So I don't check out things just because they're number 1s. But
well, I ask only because I think we'll be setting a record on this podcast for the most number 1 issues on an episode of a Weird Science podcast. Yeah. Because here's what we have. We have Amazing X-Men, number 1, World of Revelation, number 1, Binary, number 1, Laura Kinney, Sabertooth, number 1, Longshots, number 1, and Imperial War Guardians, number 1, 6 number 1s, no number 2 issues, no issues. Every issue we talk about other than the Infinity comic is a number 1 issue.
That Longshots might be a number 2.
I think that's a number 1 of 1, as we say. One shots number 1. Yeah. So 6 number 1s, enough material. We could easily spend 4 hours talking about all these things, but we'll try to keep it under 3. No
it was
promises.
Kind of a crazy good week of comics in general, by the way. I read all those, and then there was like, a new Transformers thing to get excited about. There's
Power
Batman.
Fantasy, my ass.
Power Fantasy came out. Yeah, I mean, there's stuff I haven't even read from last week, so this might be a problem.
I haven't read Power Fantasy yet. I know it's like the secret origin of Etienne Lux, so I'm really looking forward to that. So I'll probably read that this afternoon after we wrap up the recording. So don't tell me anything about it.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet either, so we're in the same boat. But sometimes I save those books for when there's like 4 or 5 garbage books, and then I go back and read something I know I'm
right,
gonna like.
Palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Well, before we even get to those new number ones, we have... Oh, where's my little button here? There it is. That's right, we got some breaking news. News about what comes after the Age of Revelation. And I'm going to try really hard not to say Age of Revolution this week, which apparently I did last week. I've got other things I'm going to screw up later, but I'm going to try to stick with Age of Revelation. And this news comes from the X panel at the New York Comic Con this past weekend. Some news that's brand new, some news that's not so new. So the next era will be called Shadows of Tomorrow. Learned that a couple weeks ago. Some titles will be returning, continuing their current volumes and their current numberings. For instance, Jed McKay's X-Men, Gail Simone's Uncanny, Saladin Ahmed's Wolverine, all just picking up from where they left off. And as far as we know, those are the only fully returning back to current title, current numbering X books. Until we hear otherwise, it seems like all other existing titles are either canceled or being changed up a little bit. So most notably, no Exceptional, and as far as we know, no new version of Exceptional, at least not yet. So Bronze, Axo, Melee, where are they going to pop up? Will they pop up somewhere else? I don't know. Any guesses, Ruben, on what you think may happen with Exceptional? I think that's really the one thing I'm still most curious about seeing resolved.
Will those characters get integrated somewhere else? I have a feeling they will in some way or other. I feel like they're going to end up either in X-Men or Uncanny.
Well, the location thing is tough because they're all high school students in Chicago. So to see them transported to either Louisiana or Alaska, something, and they're all, members of families. So curious to see what happens there. Maybe they'll just kind of pop up once in a while in other books, but I don't know if they're going to be ongoing things.
There's a relationship, right? Wasn't there some sort of romance between
Bronze
Ransom and somebody? Was it Ransom and Bronze?
Wasn't Ransom and Bronze, was Ransom and Melee.
Melee, okay. Yeah.
I think, right? Yeah. Because Bronze had a crush on that other high school boy in her class who turned out to make portals.
Yeah.
So
maybe he can make a portal for them.
Could be, yeah.
To Alaska.
Maybe he can confirm that our pet theory that his portals just go to like a holodeck pocket universe, which I still think is the best explanation. But other new titles, Cyclops. We knew that title was coming. Now we know it's a limited series. I'm guessing 5 issues, but I haven't seen this confirmed for how many issues it's getting. It'll be written by Alex Pactadell. Now, we loved Pactadell's Sentinels miniseries, and we've liked what he's done in the Infinity comic. So I'm pretty positive about this. I'm glad to see it's a limited series, which makes me think he's probably not leaving the Alaskan X-Men.
Just give him some thoughts. Yeah.
Because I want to see him stick around as the leader. I like him as the leader of a group book. I think that works really well.
Yeah, he kind of is the leader.
This will be Cyclops Volume 4. And it seems the first 3 volumes had 4 issues, then just 1 issue. That was a Fear Itself tie-in. And then the most recent Cyclops had 12 issues. So that'll be, I guess, Legacy number 18 will be the new Cyclops number 1. I'm counting right. Another title we already knew about is Storm: Earth's Mightiest Mutant. Iodele continuing that story. I'll probably keep reading it, but Ruben, I think we're probably going to put it on hold for the podcast now, unless you're really crazy to keep talking about Storm.
I would say let's just read it. If it's better, if it's like taking a step back from the cosmic nonsense, then I would continue with it. But it sounded more like, at least from the title, that it was going to even ramp it up more, in which case I don't need to deal with it.
It seems that way. We'll let you know how it's going, even if we don't officially review it. Next, we have Wade Wilson, Deadpool. This is going to be written by Ben Percy, who has written a lot of Wolverine, X-Force, that kind of thing. He's written Ghost Rider, so the kind of gory, gross, scary stuff, kind of his bag. Percy says that this will be a darker version of Wade than we've kind of gotten recently. So maybe leading away from the wacky comedic Deadpool and into more of the action horror kind of things. If the leader of the Alaskan X-Men gets his own solo mini, then I guess it's only fair that the leader of the Louisiana X-Men gets one too, and that would be Rogue, a 5-issue mini written by Erica Schultz. Erica Schultz recently finished up writing that From the Ashes Laura Kinney book. So moving from Laura Kinney onto Rogue. Didn't love that Laura Kinney book, but at least we'll check out what Rogue number 1's about. Speaking of Laura Kinney, another new title is Generation X-23, Okay, clever enough title. Starring Laura and her sister Gabby, an allegedly ongoing series written by Jody Houser. What do you put the over-under on how ongoing this Laura Kinney and Gabby series is going to be? Maybe 12? Probably 12 issues?
They seem to go to 10. 10 seems to be the magic number for Marvel. Mm-hmm. I feel like it'll be given more than just like a few issues, but I don't think it's going to be selling anything.
Yeah, I think it'll make it past the first trade, but maybe 2 trades worth. Who knows? Maybe it'll catch on. Doesn't seem like my kind of thing. Jody Houser has written a ton of books for Marvel, mostly Star Wars things, which means I haven't read them because I don't read Star Wars comics. Hey, Ruben, do you like team-up books with 2 characters? How about siblings Magic and Colossus in a book creatively titled Magic and Colossus? This is also a 5-issue mini written by Ashley Allen, which makes it feel like more or less a continuation of the Magic series that she's already been writing. And again, we'll check out issue 1 of that and see what it's about. I like Colossus. I'm curious to see what Colossus is up to, because he had that weird, not really completed character arc in X-Force. So yeah. I want to see what he's up to. If they explain more about what he was doing with that weird new persona.
Yeah, I might check that one out. Even though I dropped Magic originally, the appeal of Colossus interacting with her kind of piques my interest.
Yeah, they played chess with each other briefly. That's the only interaction we've seen them have in this post-Krakoan situation. Finally, one more, a book that's not a continuation of anything. It's called Inglorious X-Force, a new ongoing team book to be written by Tim Seeley. So both of the Infinity comic writers are getting their own books. The initial team here appears to be Cable, gotta have him on X-Force, Archangel, Boom Boom, and Helverine. Sure, why not? Wacky team. I don't know how they're going to rationalize getting all these characters together, but we'll check it out. Probably something about the future, I'm guessing, right? It's Cable. Mm-hmm. It's always the future. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there'll be more announcements forthcoming. There always are, but hey, Ruben, that's future us problems. Time to turn to current us problems, starting with the Infinity comic. This is Astonishing X-Men Infinity comic number 40, That Ye Be Not Judged Part 2, written by Tim Seeley with Alex Pagnadel, who are very busy doing other books now. Art by Philip Sevy, colors by Michael Bartolo, letters by Clayton Coles. Not a ton to talk about this time. Morphling, a.k.a. Kevin, about to go on trial for attempting to nuke the entire world. And I would expect him to be found incredibly guilty, because he did it, but that's not good enough for Executioner and his executioners. They want to lynch Kevin right there on the courthouse steps, so they attack, and the X-Men defend. Yep, mostly a fight scene chapter. Only kind of new information we get is that at least one of the security types working for the court is secretly in league with the Executioner. That bad guy shoots his partner right in the head, probably kills him, and then at the end when Husk comes and tries to carry Morphling off to safety, that bad guy injects himself with Wolfman juice, turning himself into a Wolfman, or based on the art, maybe a Were Beta Ray Bill? He kind of looks like a horse face.
I thought he looked like that. What's that character in Spider-Man? He's like a rat. There's like a lot of them.
Oh, now. The Vermin or something?
Vermin, that's it. Yep. Yeah, I thought it was like Vermin. Okay. But he is a little more hulked out than traditional Vermin.
Mm-hmm. Bigger teeth, too, I think. Yes, some kind of a Wolfman or a whatever kind of, I forget what kind of alien Beta Ray Bill is, but aware one of those. Mm-hmm. This very much feels like we're definitely wrapping up this title with this arc. Got to have a big fight scene. Both writers are busy doing other things, so this was fine. It was an okay fight scene, but not a whole lot of new information to talk about. Anything else you want to add before we say, hey, let's move on?
Nope.
Hey, let's move on. To Amazing X-Men number 1 of 3, entitled Flight. Written by Jed McKay, art by Mahmoud Asrar, colors by Matthew Wilson, letters by Clayton Coles. And as expected, this issue does pick up immediately from the end of last week's Overture issue. Hey, Ruben, you remember last week when I wondered which book might deal with that kind of strange dot on the map in Rhode Island? The dot labeled Limbo Lands?
I know. I think you even said, when are they going to make it out to Rhode Island?
Yeah. So that was answered the answer is literally quickly.
Yeah, this issue.
1 week later, yeah.
As a framing issue, before we get into the details, so this is your neighborhood. How accurate is it? Do you look at the art and say, oh yeah, this looks like my region, or is it just generic
when
northeastern.
we get to Providence, we just get like 2 panels with some buildings in the background. I mean, and it looks enough like a generic Providence city street. I wasn't able to match up like landmarks or anything in particular, or say, oh yeah, I know what street that's on. But yeah, downtown Providence has buildings about that size and shape.
So it's like an artist that did some Google searches and then used that as references, not somebody who like really captures the spirit of your
probably. I'm not much of a Providence guy. I'm Captain Suburbia, but it looks like Providence to me. But like the top of our state building has a well-known statue on it called the Independent Man. We don't see him. Like if I wanted to say, oh yeah, we're in Providence, I'd have that dome and the Independent Man. And we also have a famous statue of a giant blue termite advertising a pest control company. That's like our big town landmark. So that's what I would have if I wanted to make people know, oh, he knows Providence. Yeah, I always
wonder about that. And I know this is a tangent, but first of many, I'm sure. But whenever I look at like people drawing pictures of Seattle, there's definitely like there's just a Space Needle there, right? That's
what I would think of.
That's the like super generic one. But every now and then you'll see somebody do something that's more familiar to like just locals, and that
we had a bookstore in Seattle recently. Was it Seattle or was it Portland?
That's Portland. Portland has pals. Okay. Yeah. Okay, but if they do like Pike Place Market, that would be one where I'm like, oh yeah, that's still touristy for Seattle, but it's a less known landmark for us.
Right. So we don't get to Providence until the very end. So we start off with some expository dialogue. Really felt targeted at readers who didn't read the Overture issue last week.
Yeah.
It was a little bit heavy-handed. Everybody out there, you probably read the book, folks, or you at least listened to Weird Dose of X episode 169. So you don't need this kind of thing. But I guess if someone was going to pick up just this title, you got to have something.
Yeah, that's a weird idea.
What a place to jump in, right?
You're like a person who's like super into X-Men. You got to keep your story going, but like you're not going to bother with the framing stories.
Especially since this is
by the same writer.
Written by Jed MacKay, and he's the one running the title. I would think people would read, but I don't know. Maybe this will be its own 3-issue trade. They make 3-issue trades? I don't know. Well, the first conversation we get is between Cyclops and Glob. They remind us that a revelation-addled Logan attacked the future X-Men and murdered several of them to death before temporarily being slowed down by the exploding black hole inside Zorn's head. I can't believe I wrote that sentence, but hey, X-Men comics. And they remind us that Scott and Beast have had their consciousnesses yanked forward 10 years and plopped into the bodies of their older selves.
Yeah. I did laugh about this one part where Glob is definitely you talking to me, right? Where Cyclops is like, oh, do you think he survived that? That's ridiculous. So then Glob is just like, yeah, Cyclops, I think he survived that. I'm like, okay.
Right. I do like Glob placing this Claymore mine.
Yeah.
Right? The one that says front toward enemy. That's a famous munition thing. So just sending, really stepping into the fact that Glob is the Liefeld, Rambo, 90s kind of badass right now. I'm still enjoying that every time it comes up.
Yeah. There's a kind of good confrontation between them. He's definitely not the pushover that he is
right
in the current continuity, and they make a point to show that he stands up for himself and doesn't take crap from anyone.
I wonder if he's still a vegetarian, because they really leaned into that right before this event started. Maybe we'll find out. So Glob tells Scott that the only way you're getting home is by making sure that
Schwarzschild
stays alive long enough so that we can hook up with our agent in Philly. Now, I don't think we know anything about this plan. Do we know who their agent in Philly is, or how that would connect with getting Scott back to his past?
No, but I'm okay with it being unclear because he was kind of just pulled into the future, right? And they obviously had some stuff going on, and he's our point of view character, so we only kind of know as much as Scott knows.
Yeah, it does feel intentional, and probably their agent in Philly is the same one who tipped off the X-Men about where that character would be that Glob could assassinate. So I think that holds together too, even though it's not really lampshaded. I think it makes sense.
Another sort of swerve here. I was staring at like Beast and his white fur here, and I was like, "Are we going to get an explanation for that?" But is it just supposed to be because he's like old and his hair lost its color, like
that's how
humans do?
It.
Okay,
maybe we'll find out a thing happened in particular, but I'm just saying, well, I'm kind of going gray myself. I guess this is just, he has more hair to go gray than even I do.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Our next conversation is between Beast and
Schwarzschild.
And Jen Starkey, now known as Animalia. Beast asks
Schwarzschild
about 3K and how the hell
Schwarzschild
came to be working with the X-Men.
Schwarzschild
Says that when they were blamed for the virus, 3K went underground. They cut their X-Men team loose and disappeared. I wonder if we're going to find out what happened to the other 3K X-Men. All we know is that they were cut loose, which of course reminds me that they have a character called Juice.
Mm-hmm.
So the juice is loose. That's got to be, they got to put that line in somewhere. You can't have that set up and not knock. It's like what is it? Roger Rabbit, when you start tapping out, shaving a haircut, he has to answer 2 bits.
Yeah.
You can't leave that punchline hanging. The juice is loose. I'm gonna stop pushing the button now, maybe. Can I say the word?
You could say it. Yeah.
Okay. Have I made that joke enough? Okay. Schwarzschild.
Yes. This felt like a kid's book, right? My kids have one of those too, where it's like you read the story and push the buttons on the side.
I can't help it, Ruben. I love my running gags,
yes.
as you may have picked up on.
Yes.
But Schwarzschild then tells Beast that after he got essentially fired by 3K, his new mentor was Zorn. Makes perfect sense. They both have black hole-based powers, so losing Zorn last issue, or in the setup issue, was particularly tough on Schwarzschild. Beast wants to know more about the virus, so Jen hands him all the data they have on it, which is just like a handful of papers. Beast says, "Thank you, Ms. Starkey," and Jen is upset and a bit offended at being treated so, standoffishly. She says, "God, you don't even know me yet, do you?" She flies off, because she has wings, and Schwarzschild tells Beast that, to Jen, she and Beast have had a lot of history.
Yeah, let's talk about this really quick.
Yeah,
when I heard that, I was like, does this mean that the Beast that was brought forward is not even exactly the Beast in the current timeline? Like maybe they went back a little bit further in the timeline, like maybe before the was it Hellfire Vigil? Because I mean, from that point forward, has he been calling her Miss Starkey? They kind of had a date, so it's a little informal.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I was wondering, is this always been more about the idea of them having a relationship than he's been oblivious. Was how he's been set up. But there's been a lot of speculation. He was still calling her Miss Starkey recently. Oh, I didn't go back and check.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah, so I was just like, is this I mean, the not deep dive on this is just like from the current timeline, and then there's 10 years they have more of a relationship, right? And this version doesn't. But it's kind of weird that she'd be surprised about that. It's like, duh, you were brought back from 10 years in the past. Like, why would he know you? Mm-hmm.
But he is in the body of this person she's had 10 more years of who knows what kind of relationship with. A lot of speculation online revolves around exactly who got pulled forward into this body. Because, like we said last time, we didn't see anything in the Overture issue suggesting that it was contemporaneous with Scott getting pulled forward.
Right, and that's why I was wondering, is this another indicator that it's not what we think? It's like an even earlier version of Beast.
I mean, how much earlier? Is it like before he got, is it of the Krakoan Beast? Some people have said Dark Beast, which, seems unlikely to me, because Dark Beast is Age of Apocalypse Beast, right?
Yeah, that'd be annoying.
That'd be weird.
Don't need that, yeah.
But possibly, we seem to be hinting at that it's from something more complicated about Beast's complicated timeline than just the same time as Scott. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. He didn't
seem this polite in Greco era, so I would think that if it's anything, it's just closer to, the original Beast. But it must be a point. It'd be a point after he got the blue fur, because he doesn't seem that weirded out that his whole body's covered in fur.
Right. Although who knows if it is something like Krakoan Beast, that guy would be playing it super cool, right? Not letting tactical on that he isn't the Beast that people expect he would be. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that when they do a teleportation thing later, some things kind of go wrong with technology. So maybe they think they got Beast from one time period, but they missed and got one from another time period. I don't know how this thing works. A lot of ways you could write this. But
now you got me staring at the art. Now I'm staring at the art, looking at the eyes, and like he looks a little more sinister after he pulls the glasses down a bit. So it's a good, intriguing sort of like dangling carrot here.
Right.
It's got me thinking.
And that's why we like these comics. We like these kind of places to speculate, and a lot of things to be speculated about Beast here. Okay, on to our third conversation between Beast and Cyclops. Scott says that he, quote, hasn't been able to make psychic contact with Jean, and that no one can tell him what happened to her or to the Phoenix.
Oh, wait, one more line.
Okay, one more.
Worth talking about. When he's talking to Schwarzschild. So Beast says, Miss Starkey's acting as if I had replaced my future self, who I gathered had become quite important to her, which is surely not the case, as my future self had already been babbled, as you had said. And then
that's
Schwarzschild says, of course. So are they lying? I mean, that would also explain some of what I was suspecting, like where the timeline didn't make a lot of sense. Like, how did we have a character? I guess it wasn't Beast specifically. In that case, it was Scott, right? Claiming that, or we saw in the one issue that he was talking about going back in time, but then they told Scott that he had been babbled.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's like they've made more of a sacrifice than they want to let on.
Yeah.
That they were still conscious, but they said, well, we gotta fix things. The only way we can fix these things is by having our brains overridden.
Yeah. Or, my other theory with this is they're not, like, the plan is not really that the past selves being in the present matter. It was more like they sent back their future selves to the past to do the Terminator thing of, like, maybe killing Doug or something.
Oh.
And they don't want people to know.
Maybe there's a whole plot line going on that we don't know about in the other timeline.
Yeah, that's still, like, actively happening.
Yeah, how would that work out? Because then would we get to the end of this and we find out that nothing we've been reading really was the main plot? Because there is no other book talking about what's going on back in the main timeline, killing Doug or whatever.
Well, maybe you could have a situation where they figure it out what's going on, and then they send themselves back, and then it's like,
oh, there we go.
It's a face-off situation.
Everything, yeah. I'm going to put an unlikely on that, but I like the idea.
Yeah,
I think the probability is much higher of them having been overwritten by the time travel personalities.
I mean, the biggest upside to this is it seems to be more like what you were saying, is that it wasn't a mistake that some of the stuff doesn't line up. The story is not matching with what we saw on paper.
And we only have 3 months to make it all make sense. So if they're going to do a twist, it's going to have to be pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's go on to Beast and Cyclops, and Scott saying, oh, well, what's up with Jean? What's up with the Phoenix? We'll find out more about the Phoenix later. This conversation ends at a joke about how if Scott got to pick who's at his side at a time like this, he wouldn't pick Beast, he'd pick Logan. Pretty funny joke. And now Beast says to Scott that being on the run with him again brings back many happy memories, which I'm wondering if that's another hint about Beast. Like which Beast would we know? Yeah. And I don't know enough about Beast's timeline and exactly where he was rebooted from. Would that Beast have all those memories about being on the run with Scott?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't mapped that out, but maybe. Okay, moving on to the next scene, which is a revelation scene. We have Doug meeting up with Logan and reasserting his domination over him. Doug has 3 choristers with him, Fabian Cortez, Cora of the Burning Heart, and someone he calls Chance, who I don't think we know who Chance is yet.
No, I looked it up. She's just a new character for this.
Yeah, and here the art is a little bit, lets me down a little bit, because when they're in the background, they're drawn with those very low detail faces, and I had trouble telling who was who sometimes, especially when I'm trying to figure out who the hell Chance would be. So I wish there was a little more detail there. But now Doug uses that voice of God power. What are we calling that damn thing? Voice of God?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I'll go with that. He uses the voice of God power to tell Logan, you want nothing more than to obey me, and you want to kill my enemies for me. Logan is resisting here, maybe even considering violence against Doug, but Doug has all 3 of his choristers power him up, which is what choristers do, and now Logan's resistance is overwhelmed.
And I thought this was kind of cool. I was like, does it mean that Logan's healing factor is sort of pushing back against the alteration from Revelation?
Healing factor or his just general strength of will.
Yeah.
It's certainly foreshadowing something about Logan breaking loose here.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think Logan has been fully Babylized like we had speculated.
He just seems to be directed to do something.
And
kind of like he did with Psylocke.
Right. Now, at the end of this scene, Doug sends Logan back out after the X-Men. So he's still chasing him down, continuing the chase that we saw at the end of Overture. Okay, scene 3. Now this is a battle at the remnants of Greymalkin prison. This is the longest scene in the issue. We're back with the X-Men, and they've reached Westchester County, New York, just north of New York City, not quite into Connecticut. It's just placing them geographically, since geography matters in this book.
Mm-hmm.
More specifically, they're at the site of the X-Mansion, which is also the site of Greymalkin Prison. And we're told that when the X-Virus started to hit, Warden/podcaster Corinna Ellis sealed the prison up. would that keep the virus from getting in? I guess it depends on how this particular virus spreads.
Yeah.
It seems to have worked for her because, at least virus-wise, because eventually Revelation and his followers lay siege to the place. Doug orders Ellis to be crucified on an X, just like that famous cover to Uncanny 251. And we
also
see her
known as
skeletons.
getting a podcasters do, right?
The podcaster's crucifixion? I don't know about that.
This is the end game for us, Jason.
I thought that's only if you take some of those sketchy advertisers, like those earbuds that are so overpriced.
Yeah.
We're not selling those. We just want you to sign up for our Patreon, patreon.com/weirdscience.
Yeah, I will huck Skull Candy if they want to sponsor us.
That's not even the ones I'm thinking of, but
okay.
Whatever they were. Eventually Revelation and his followers, take over the place, crucify the podcaster. I guess just seeing her skeleton still chained up there, super creepy. And because of all the horrible ways that mutants died here, hinting, I guess, that they starved to death because Ellis wouldn't let any stuff in or out. Ghosts, angry ghosts everywhere. And who can deal with ghosts? Well, it's Death Dream, Hotaru, the creepy kid from Uncanny.
Mm-hmm.
He's 10 years older now, though he looks basically the same. He's more in control of his ghost powers, and I guess Hotaru just hangs out here with his ghost friends. But the X-Men are here for a reason. For some reason, there's a, quote, one-shot teleporter, very plot convenient, hidden away in the ruins of Greymalkin. Beast looks at it and recognizes Forge's work in this technology, but also Beast recognizes his own work. Again, raising questions on exactly what Beast's been up to in these various twisting timelines.
Mm-hmm.
So Scott wants some more info out of Glob, but before he can get much, Animalia spots Logan closing in, so now it's big fight time. Glob uses his Liefeldian energy rifle, and Scott uses his I-beams to try to push Logan back. Scott immediately takes over strategy for the team, which Glob isn't so happy with. Works initially, but then Logan slips away and gets to Hotaru, cuts the kid's head right off. So is that a problem for Hotaru? Because isn't his whole thing being that he dies all the time and then he's fine?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting.
It's supposed to be shocking, right?
It is. I was shocked by it, just in the sense that it's like a surprisingly graphic scene for a Marvel comic.
Yeah, especially for a kid character.
Yeah, and for a kid character. And even, in Uncanny, Logan is like a mentor figure to these kids, right? So,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of betrayal here, but I was pretty shocked by it. But, upon further consideration, I was like, yeah, I think he comes back, but we haven't really exactly had that explained to us, right? Like, is it regeneration? Is it he just like wakes up somewhere and he's fine? But I think we have been told that he doesn't die, quote unquote.
The thing is, we don't get to see in this issue if he stays dead or if this is no big thing, because Beast completes powering up the teleporter. The team just barely gets away. Hotaru stays there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a cool part with, like, when Hotaru's dead, the angry spirits are now just berserker angry spirits, so it's even more urgent for them to get through this teleporter.
They get to the teleporter, and now is when they're trying to teleport directly to Philadelphia, but they say something about the ghosts are throwing off the technology, so that's when they end up in Providence. Which, again, I'm looking at these pictures, and again, it looks kind of like your basic Providence City street, but I don't recognize any individual buildings.
Yeah.
And we know from the map last week that this is an outpost of Limbo controlled by the Dark Child, that version of magic, and Juggernaut. It's technically within Revelation's domain, but he doesn't himself dare enter. That's what we're told. Maybe he thinks, not worth the bother. In the final page splash, we see Darkchild and Juggernaut, who show up just to glare menacingly. And who else is there with them, Ruben? This surprised me.
Yeah, Psylocke.
It's Psylocke. She's not glaring menacingly. She looks like she's about to start crying, which is not a look we usually get from Psylocke.
Yeah.
But presumably, after Bay the Blood Moon told her whatever she told her, Psylocke ran off to the relative safety of Providence. So several plot threads coming together here. And we don't know how Magic and Juggernaut are going to react to the X-Men. What side are they on, if any? And I don't really know what the plan is here for these X-Men. Scott doesn't know either. They got to get to Philadelphia somehow, and somehow that's going to help them defeat Revelation and send Scott's mind back 10 years into his original body. Still not quite sure how that's going to work, but it's a good kind of mystery. It feels definitely intentional. Yeah. And I like these plot lines coming together. They got to come together quickly because, again, we only have the 3 months. So what did you think of this book as a whole?
I was super happy about it. I was worried that once we got to these side stories, it was going to feel like just a cash grab. And instead, I thought this was actually moving the stories along in a way that's interesting. And I am kind of enjoying exploring this world of Revelation in this way, where it's just kind of backdrop to the central story. But I'm getting a sense of like how the world is different with Revelation in charge. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I liked it a lot. And even seeing our kids from the Outliers, kind of one of them getting killed, Death Dream, kind of made me smile to think like, okay, here's the future of this character.
Right. It's hard to have stakes in a future timeline story when we already know this timeline is going to be erased, but they're doing a pretty good job of making it feel like stakes in the moment.
Yep.
I know you've read a lot more of the original Age of Apocalypse than I have. You've read the whole thing now, right?
I read all of it now, yep.
How does this world feel compared to that world? Are there clear parallels, or is it just another future timeline with a bad guy in charge?
This world seems better than the Age of Apocalypse world, because at least for the mutants, it seems to be a pretty decent place to live.
Okay.
Whereas in Age of Apocalypse, the mutant hellscape was kind of like crap for everyone, except for like this very elite group that had, been kind of part of the leadership core of Apocalypse.
Okay, so I guess that probably shows Doug's personality as compared to Sabanur's.
Yep.
Interesting. Cool.
Because they were doing like experiments even on mutants. In the Age of Apocalypse, they had like breeding pits of like,
right,
mentally suppressed mutants that they were trying to like find the strongest powers and, advance them through interbreeding.
And as far as we know, that's not going on here.
So far, yeah.
Art here looking really cool. The fight scene looking super dynamic, and you really feel like Logan's this awful, amazing lurking threat out there who could just pop up and kill you at any second. This new landscapes of this new world, they really make you feel like you're in a different kind of a setting, which is neat. So I guess I'm going to call this, I don't know, maybe an 8.5 out of 10. I'm really pretty pleased with it. How about you, Ruben?
Yeah, I might go a little higher. I'm going to go 8.8.
8.8.
Almost a 9. I was really excited about this. And maybe it was in part because I was so fearful that, the first 3 issues were going to be great. And then it was just going to I guess the other thing I was worried about was it's going to grind to a halt in the sense of like, maybe the story's really only needs like 6 issues and they're just going to pad it out. But at least so far, this feels like, and maybe it won't need the 40 or 50 issues we actually get, but maybe it's really a 30 issue good strong story.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll talk about some side issues coming up that definitely don't feel so necessary, but it really feels like if you stick to the main, anything with Jed McKay on it for sure, seems like he's got a good idea where he wants to go, and he's got a tight story and a plan to get there. So let's move on from this issue and go on to the next book, which is also, I think, pretty important. This is World of Revelation #1 of 1. It's three stories in the issue. It's what do you call anthology book. That's the word I'm looking for. You want me to give the credits and then turn it over to you?
Yeah.
We've got 3 stories. The first one is called The Message, which takes place on Araco. It's written by Al Ewing, art by Augustin Alessio. We've got Never Let Me Go, a Hulkling and Wiccan story, written by Steve Fox, art by Jesus Marino, colors by Will Quintana. And then finally we have Epoch of Revelation, about Franklin Richards and Herbie, written by Ryan North, art by Adam Suzowski, and colors by Chris Peter, and letters all over the thing by Travis Lanham. So, Ruben, tell us about these 3 stories.
Sure. Yeah. So first off, I wanted to say, I had no idea what this book was going to cover. And speaking of cash grabs, I just was like, man, this sort of like anthology in this random setting is going to be a bunch of like garbage stories that don't have any significance. That's kind of what I was anticipating. So my opinion of this collection is probably elevated a little bit just on the fact that I expected this to be just like total trash. But, maybe
just to
let
listeners know, the way I organized, like which book goes where, is I went from the most relevant to the main story, descending order down to the least relevant. So obviously we start with Amazing X-Men, which is the clear like main book. and World of Revelation is the second most relevant.
Yeah, shocking. And maybe I would just say, if I looked at the writers, I'd be like, okay, it's not as bad as I am predicting, right? These are not the worst of the worst writers. But anyways.
Yeah, sometimes these things have like brand new writers or new to Marvel. They want to give them, almost a training wheels, take a shot at this thing on the side. But no, these are Al Ewing and Steve Fox and Ryan North, who are all, kind of mainstay Marvel writers these days.
Yep. Yeah. So there's 3 stories, like you said. The first one is kind of the other end of the bay, sending the psychic transmission to Arakko scene, right? And so it kind of, it's kind of just hand waved in the, the last issue that it just kind of went to Apocalypse, but apparently, according to the story, it went to like a undisclosed messenger who then relayed it to Apocalypse. And in many ways, this first issue is just like, hey, you guys, do you remember X-Men Red? And then my answer is yes, I do.
Yes, indeed. Tell me more.
Yes, yeah. And so it kind of follows the end of that big fight, that we saw in the end of Ewing's run of X-Men Red, and a mysterious cloaked figure, in techno armor, kind of like walking through. Arakko gives us kind of like a walking tour of where things are these days. Yeah, travelogue. So he gets the message on Iska Mountain, and there's a talk about how Iska is kind of like taken over a territory on Arakko and just said like, no fighting here, or you fight her, I guess, and she kills you.
That was part of that big final war in X-Men Red, right? That was like both sides are just staying away from Iska.
Yeah. So this character goes down, and then we kind of see the first hint. There's like some mutants that are trying to like extort some toll from, the mysterious figure, for safe passage. And he does some like, mind whammy stuff. So I was like, okay, it's Xavier. And spoilers, it was Xavier.
Now, I think we should mention just the look of, especially this first part of the story. It doesn't look like a comic book, right? It looks almost more like a kid's picture book where you have some just a column of narrative text on the left, and then a series of individual vertically stacked images on the right, which I think works for this almost like fairy tale feeling the book's trying to evoke. I don't want most of my comic books to look like this, but in this one kind of weird story, I think it works really well.
Yeah, and if you care about Arakko and, what could have happened, from the last time we really delved into it, which I do, this is great, right? Because it gives you like all the big beats of the different regions that we had kind of known about. Not really necessary, right, to the story, but I appreciated it. So I could certainly see somebody like Jim probably being like, oh God, this is just like walls of text of like talking about stuff that I don't give a damn about.
Yeah, I thought exactly that. Jim would not read this issue. He would have quit on page 1. No offense, Jim. We just know what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so after he goes, down Iska Mountain, he goes across the Demon Lands, or Damon Lands, however you want to say it, and we see the demons and kind of what they're up to these days, which is kind of nonsense.
Demons, living their best demon life.
Yep.
I love the reference to Orc here, who was the demon who worked with Apocalypse in X-Men Red, the little guy on his shoulder. And at the end of X-Men Red, he kind of won this territory on Mars for him and his demon kind. So it all makes sense. Because it is Al Ewing writing this, so of course it's going to make sense.
Yeah. And then he kind of like sneaks past Spirevile, and there's a reference to, I guess, the people in there having previously trying to bring back Tarn the Uncaring, which is something I was speculating maybe they were doing. And then how they've abandoned that in favor of whatever terrible plan the Sugar Man has.
Yeah, so Sugar Man's been there for 10 years at this point. So that's a nice little bit of continuity with pre-Revelation. Yeah.
And then they get to Port Prometheus, where there were some, I guess, human refugees, and a lot of people kind of giving him crap.
He's the stink eye. A lot of stink eye.
Yeah, a lot of stink eye. Yeah.
Nobody tries to steal from here or beat him up. They just kind of look at him like an outsider because he's not really of Arakko the way they are. Yep. Which is neat because it's not that, it's a human mutant thing. It's an Arakko Earth thing. And they say, here's this Earth guy. Yep. Even though he's a mutant, he's less of Mars than they are. Kind of cool.
Yeah. And this is, 10 years in the future. So I started thinking, like, that's kind of weird. Like, what happened to Lilandra and Xandra and, like, his attempts to get the Shi'ar Empire back for them?
We have no idea what... We don't know... You guys, you knew there was Xavier at this point. I did not put that together until it was revealed in a couple pages. But we have no idea what happened that got Charles Xavier onto Mars.
Yeah. And so he's like exiled from that, right? He seems kind of like downtrodden.
And I'm sure this
here.
is Al Ewing just leaving it wide open because he probably doesn't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen to Xavier because we got 10 years to work with.
Yep.
All we know is that in this timeline, he's still alive in 10 years and he found his way to Mars.
Yep.
All we need to know.
Yeah. So then he gets to the Morrow Lands and he kind of gets attacked by the artists. And I kind of laughed about this part because do you remember the name of the painter that Nightcrawler was in a relationship with? I don't remember her name, but I do remember there being like this warrior artist.
It was Weaponless Zen, the same person who's going to ferry him across the water.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of fun to see like the artists now are like they've turned fighting into their art style or something like that. And then the other little Easter egg here is they're all wearing kind of Magneto style helmets.
Yeah, that was great.
And I was like, well, that kind of makes sense.
Xavier now, in retrospect, knowing he's Xavier, he can't just make them all fall unconscious the way he did to the first group of baddies. He has to physically fight and kind of knock their helmets off first. Yeah. Knock them, sock 'em robot style.
Yeah. But he has a pretty cool kung fu kick here. He kicks one of them in the head, knocks the helmet off, and then he does the mind touch. Mm-hmm. So I was like, good on you, Xavier.
He's been working out.
He has,
he's an old guy now. It's been 10 years, but he's still keeping fit.
Yeah. But I thought it was pretty sweet to see Xavier doing some fighting. Definitely like a Jedi mind thing, right? Like you kick the guy's helmet off and then you put him to sleep. Or maybe he killed him. I don't know. It's a question.
Probably not. Yeah, he's still Xavier, but who knows?
Yeah.
So next he gets to Weaponless Zen, who was going to ferry him across this water here.
Yeah. To the Autumn Palace, which again is, a term that you'd recognize if you were an X-Men Red stan. I did laugh at
Sen is the daughter of Fisher King, so they got a little hint in the text about her father. We don't still know. Her father had died, and we don't know much about that. Yeah. And again, he had sent what's her name? Your favorite character,
Abigail Brand. On some kind of mystery.
He's the only one who knew where he sent Abigail Brand. So I know you were hoping every page
I was
get an Abby Brand reference, and we get nothing.
Yeah.
Alas,
we'll see.
But Autumn Palace.
Yeah, the Autumn Palace has got I laughed at this. I was like, it's an Apocalypse head on a building.
Right. Had originally been built by Magneto, but Apocalypse redecorated the place. Yes, and in his subtle way, he makes it his own with a giant Apocalypse head. Yeah. Looks kind of like you're living inside the Sphinx, but Apocalypse-faced.
Yeah, it works, but it made me laugh. I was like, oh, dude, you're so egomaniacal. Yeah, so he finally gets in. He goes in there and he says, hey, I got this message from Bay, the Blood Moon. And
this is where we kind of turn into more standard comics with dialogue, balloons, and all that stuff.
Yep. And I like this idea where he's like, I could have just sent you this message psychically. I didn't need to walk across all the way. And Apocalypse is like, I'm not dropping my psychic guards for you. I have to, be in the room close enough to strangle you before I do that.
And also he says something like, oh, how would I know the message was worth anything if you weren't able to go through this struggle to get it to me? Very Apocalypse thing.
Very Apocalypse-y. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
And also a panel that... he sends the message, and we don't get to know what the message is, which frustrated me, but you got me, Al Ewing. It makes sense. I can't be too angry about it, but I really want to know.
Yeah, so he transmits it into Apocalypse's head, and then Apocalypse says, as I feared, the boy paddles in the shallows, refusing to enter deeper water. He's taken the easy path.
Right.
He's not done enough. And then I laughed when he said I should have chosen Richter. I was like, oh my God.
That panel is definitely going around the internet. It's being spread by Richter stans who, you should have picked Richter, which I'm not a Richter stan, but fair play.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I really liked the additional shade thrown by Xavier when he said we all have regrets. After all, he was my student too.
Right. And that is where, if you didn't put it together, we actually get the full-on face reveal that this is, it's either Kojak or it's Xavier, because he looks like he's stayed in shape, but he's put on a few pounds. He looks almost kind of towards Kingpin, not as big as the Kingpin, but little chubby. But who am I to judge?
Yeah, he's and still able to do those kung fu kicks. So he's
the
not
cliffhanger is this talk between Apocalypse and Xavier. Apocalypse wants some advice. What do you think, Chuck? Should we just kill him now, or should we give him another chance?
Yeah.
So this could be foreshadowing again. This could be how the entire event wraps up. Maybe Apocalypse coming back is the key to reset things. Or it could be a red herring. Who knows?
Oh, and last thing is we get another in the background. Death is there. The Death that was kind of in a love triangle. Well, not love triangle. He had an interest in Storm, right?
Right. The dog-headed Egyptian god-looking guy, one of Apocalypse's original horsemen, one of his offspring.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
It was.
So yeah, this was an important story. The art I thought was pretty good, and it was fun to see Arakko again and just see what might have happened since last time. The other two, I'll go a lot faster through because I thought they were less important, but they're more just kind of like, I think I'd say the second story, it's all about just showing you how bad being turned into a Babel is and explain also why some of the space factions might not be intervening. And then the third story is, I don't exactly understand the point of the third story other than to just say like, oh yeah, all your New York-based superheroes that aren't mutants are kind of dead.
Well, let's do the second one first. The Hulkling and Wiccan story, Never Let Me Go by Steve Fox.
Yep. So Steve Fox's story is like kind of early into the Revelation kind of era. So just 2 years in, not the 10 years that we're in the current, present, future. And we see that Wiccan and Hulkling like confronted Doug Ramsey. Basically, I guess they must have somehow figured out that he was responsible for the X virus and that it wasn't 3K. But at this point, he's still kind of in denial, claiming that didn't happen.
At least they know he's kind of taken over, however big this area is 2 years in. It's going to be like, I don't know, all of the tri-state area, as they say on Phineas and Ferb. And yet, so they come across as a little bit naive, self-righteous. Oh, we're just going to pop in and fix things right away. Now, we don't know, because they've had 2 years since the events of Imperial. So we know they're still alive at Imperial. So it's not a shock to see them alive, but we don't know what they're doing back on Earth when Hulkling was, until pretty recently, emperor of an entire cosmic, empire.
Yep. Yeah, but they mentioned that they had been on Earth with like the other young Avengers, and then the virus swept through and killed their teammates. But Wiccan survived through use of his magic. He had some spell that protected him and
also
Hulkling.
Protected Hulkling.
Yeah. So they have a big fight, and it looks like Wiccan might be getting a little bit of a opportunity to fight him back, and he starts using some magic to try to like reverse the X virus. And at this point, Doug's like, we're not going to do that. So he asks Gore to like give him a boost, and then he says babble, and Wiccan loses his ability to communicate. Right.
So Wiccan's magic is all word-based. So taking away his ability to speak, neutralizes him. I wasn't crazy about the babblizing process just being the word babble. Thought that was a little bit lame, but we only have 10 pages to work with this story, so I'm okay with it, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the story is just showing Hulkling trying to find a cure for his, for Wiccan.
Yeah, Hulkling is going to like attack, like basically he's upset and he's going to attack Doug, and then Doug's basically like, I've got a whole team of mutants, right? You want to fight me? Like they're going to kill your boyfriend, so you better get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hulkling takes him away, and then they let go and try to get the process reversed. They try magical means and mystical means.
I like this double page spread of showing all the places he went to.
Yeah.
So
they go to No Girl, asking for like mutant psychic powers, doesn't work. They go to Shaman of Alpha Flight, and the mystical stuff doesn't work.
Oh, was that Shaman?
I think it is, yeah. The daughter of...
what's her name? Who was
Clea.
In magic?
Oh, no.
Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah, some Native American magic type person.
Yeah, I think it was like the second shaman, like the daughter of the original Alpha Flight shaman.
Right.
I think she went by shaman too.
That makes more sense.
In any event, and then they visit some healer character who I don't know who that is.
Yeah, Dr. Matt helped us out with that. Thank you, Dr. Matt. And that is Dr. Faiza Hussein, who is a Captain Britain character, which is why we don't know her, because we haven't been reading Captain Britain books.
Yeah.
The current day, she is the latest bearer of Excalibur. And that's also why we can kind of see a Captain Britain type person, probably Betsy, in the background.
Yeah. Then they go for some science, and I don't recognize who these sciencey folks are.
I'm going to say that's Shuri.
That makes sense.
That's my guess. Then we get some Far Eastern-ish magic types. Probably Wong is one of them. I don't know who the others might be.
Yeah.
Then we get Blackheart, who's the son of Mephisto.
Demonic,
we couldn't figure out who that was. But again, thank you, Dr. Matt. Blackheart. And then the last one, they're like cyborg Skrulls.
Yeah, and also Guardians of the Galaxy, because we got Groot and Rocket there. So
I don't know if cyborg Skrulls are a known thing, but it looks cool. It's a cool picture. But
and in the event, basically, they say
none of it works.
None of it works. And in part, Doug was just doing this so that everyone who could interfere and intervene with, them is going to know, like, well, this is the risk of coming after Doug. You might become this, like, unable to communicate person.
Fate worse than death, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do a good sense of, like, showing it as being helpless, and they make it sad, and then it kind of just ends. Mm-hmm. And we just know that, like, they're kind of out of the picture because Wiccan is unable to communicate.
Okay, that was the second story. How about we go to the third story, Epoch of Revelation, written by Ryan North.
Yeah,
who's the current Fantastic Four writer.
Yeah, Ryan North's story is very similar in purpose, at least in my mind. And here we see, like, well, why didn't the Fantastic Four, like, intervene, right? They fight with world-ending threats all the time, or, like, try to help. And we learn that basically the X virus spreads extremely fast, and the Fantastic Four just died.
Which I think is a great way. We always complain of these stories. Oh, why don't the characters from other books intervene, right? In DC, why doesn't Superman just fix every problem for Wonder Woman or Aquaman or anybody? And in this story, they can just say, well, the X virus kills everybody who's not a mutant, or it makes a small number of them into mutants, and that's why. Perfectly good explanation.
Basically, if you're a superhero that was in New York, you're not around anymore, most likely. Unless you were protected, right? Like, we'll get to that in a bit.
Or unless you're one of the few who turns into a mutant, and we'll see some of them in not today's books, but in future books.
Yeah. So in this case, Franklin Richards, the virus converted him into, like, this disgusting blob creature, and also said his
slug monster, basically.
Yeah. He also lost his powers, so now he's just like this gross thing that kind of goes around. And so he, I guess, is just spending his time in this time period collecting, like, trinkets to demonstrate that, like, the human race had a purpose and value, and
almost putting together an archive. Art in textbooks and things. He's basically planning for the future after all this blows over, which could be decades, centuries, millennia. He doesn't know how long.
So he takes it to Herbie, who's in this, like, cave, and basically he's doing the archiving. And then eventually he leaves and, like, runs into some other mutants who think that he's kind of just some disgusting creature, and then they kill him. And then Herbie, when he doesn't get a check-in from Franklin, rolls a boulder in front of a cave and then just, like, waits, 70 million years.
Yeah, he does the Cask of Amontillado, but to himself.
Yeah.
And he waits, I think it just says eons and eons later, so we have no idea how long Herbie's been waiting here. But when
71 million years, it's in the very last page.
Does it? Oh, okay, wow.
Yes.
So
he later learns
are weird.
Million,
this timeline's going to be erased, but at least in a way this timeline lasts, and things change again, and he rolls a stone away, and we see these kind of humanoid creatures and a cart with some kind of oxen-type creatures. So just the implication is that everything's changed and evolved, and humanity, or whatever we're going to call these creatures, are kind of starting over from, I don't know, a medieval Renaissance-ish type technology level, maybe? Who knows? Yeah. And then Herbie comes out and says, hey, basically, I have some stuff that could help you out. Give you a little jump
Don't
forward.
Repeat the mistakes we made, basically.
Right. Yeah, and I thought this was pretty good. For this is an opportunity to tell a story that lasts 71 million years.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, we know we're never going to see all the time that happened in between, but it lets Ryan North speculate and not have to worry about being contradicted because it's all going to go away. But it shows, Franklin Richards still having hope for the future, even when he knows it's going to take a hell of a long time to get to that future. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and it really does answer these questions of, like, why aren't these other characters, confronting Doug or, like, somehow involved in the overall story. So it was effective. Overall, I'd just give it maybe a 7.5, mostly because I felt like that first story is worth reading and useful to, the overarching plot of the event. But you could probably skip it if you wanted to. But if you're into the story, it's worth picking up.
It's not vital, but it hooks in ways that are fun. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I thought the look, especially that first story, was really cool. I enjoyed following that art and that different kind of way of telling a comic book story. I liked the connections. I thought it was a worthwhile book to pick up. You don't have to pick it up. You'll still be perfectly able to understand the overall story, but it's a book that is worth reading, so I'm giving it the 8 out of 10. Okay, moving on to our next most relevant book, which surprisingly as heck to me is Binary #1 of 3, written by Stephanie Phillips, art by Giada Belviso, Colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, who I'm pretty sure is still blocking Jim on Twitter. Letters by Travis Lanham. And yeah, we haven't been a huge fan of Stephanie Phillips on the Phoenix title.
Yep.
But I wonder if having only 3 issues to tell this tale is a useful constraint on her, because one of our complaints has been her arcs are going on way longer than they needed to. Like that first story about that one kid was 10 issues long with about 3 issues worth of story.
Yeah.
So
this is more grounded too. I would say that's a big part of why I found that I enjoyed it more. Like the cosmic-y stuff where you have no idea what people's powers are just gets to me.
Yeah.
And we still have one cosmic-y character, but at least they're interacting with humans who we can, understand like what their actions are.
And in a very specified, geographical area. Because the situation is that Jean Grey is dead. Probably dead. We're told she's dead. Who can speculate? And Carol Danvers is the current host of the Phoenix Force. Has been for nearly 10 years, so whatever happened to Jean happened pretty shortly after Phoenix number 15 and X-Men number 22.
Mm-hmm.
Carol has dusted off her old superhero name of Binary and is using her huge cosmic powers to protect just her small hometown of Beverly, Massachusetts.
Yep.
Which is a real town, a suburb north of Boston, home in the real world to like 40,000 people. So like Providence, for instance, is like 200,000. So a smallish town, a suburb. And it is inside Revelation territories, but I'm thinking that kind of like Providence, Doug is just like, it's not worth going up against the Phoenix. Let's just leave it alone. Why antagonize the freaking Phoenix? Got other problems.
Yeah.
So Carol has put an energy dome around the town, which I guess keeps the X-Virus out and keeps the humans alive and safe. So we open on a 5-day flash forward. And as far as I can tell, the rest of the issue happens before this scene. And maybe this is going to end up being the climactic scene of the entire 3-issue arc. But what's happening in this scene is that a group of humans have set a trap for Carol, a large amount of explosives inside a house. One of these humans is named Hank, not Hank McCoy, a different Hank. We'll see later he has some shady things going on, and there's at least 3 other people in this group, 2 women and one more man. Only one of them gets a name or any dialogue, and that being Cecilia. And Cecilia isn't totally sure that their plan is such a good plan, but it's too late now. The bomb explodes. So Ruben, does our title character, who is the Phoenix, get killed in the first scene of her own book by a house full of explosives?
Of course not.
No.
The art is pretty cool. Yeah, she comes out. She looks really badass and in fire and swirly, whatever. And there's a shocking, like, she's alive! Exclamation. It's like, yeah, of course. It's the Phoenix.
It looks cool. There's a lot of orange and red in this book. And it gets a little bit boring because there's explosions that are orange and red, and there's the Phoenix that are orange and red. And it kind of looks a little bit samey, but I guess, how else are you going to draw an explosion? How else are you going to draw the Phoenix? So now we flash back to the current day, a much more mundane scene, still in Beverly, inside the dome. We're at a town meeting. Carol is there, not in uniform, just as a regular-looking person. The mood is tense, which, they've been stuck inside this dome for a decade now, having only Carol's word that the virus exists and that she's protecting them from it and that they've got to stay here in the dome.
Yeah.
I don't want to take this too far, but it does feel like a little bit of a flashback to a certain real-world event from about 5 years ago. Right? How do we keep ourselves safe from the virus?
Yes.
It's not leaned into too hard. It's not heavy-handed, which is good because that could go wrong real bad. But I could not help thinking about, how do we know that you're telling us the truth about this thing going on? Yeah.
No, actually, I mean, I don't know. I don't mind being reminded of reality. I felt this was very believable, right?
Yeah, people acted the way people would act.
Yes.
If anything, that it took them 10 years to get to this point.
You're pretty patient.
The unbelievable thing. But, this is when the story has to be told.
Sure. Yeah.
So we've got the crowd getting all riled up at this meeting, and the person who's doing most of the riling up, getting the crowd angry, is that guy Hank.
Yeah.
So we know he's got things going on against Carol, multiple directions.
Mm-hmm.
The next scene, Hank goes and meets at a secret location still inside the dome with a #shadowy figure. Love those. This is a woman. We don't see her hair or much of her face in this scene, but later on we'll see she looks a lot like Jean Grey.
Yeah, when we first see her, I was like, is this Moondragon? And then I was like, why is that a tease? Because she kind of almost looks a little bald just because they don't show her hair.
Okay, I can see that.
And then it's a little bizarre that, like, when we get the reveal, she's got a ton of hair. I'm like, they did a really good job hiding it. She must have had it in a ponytail or something in this scene.
Yeah, and she does magic-y type things in this scene. She's clearly kind of, like, Hank answers to her. She's the one in charge in the background. Hank wants praise for inciting all that yelling at the meeting. Implication is that he and this lady have been spending a lot of time and effort trying to undermine Carol among the people.
Yep.
They want to break her spirit. The lady kind of goes off into a weird tangent explaining what babbles are.
Yeah.
Which we didn't need that, but babbles are going to come up later in the issue, so it's trying to explain things to people who may not have read all the stuff we read.
Yeah. Later when we see her and it looks just like Jean, I was like, is this Madeline Pryor, actually?
That's probably who it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I did think that this exposition here, I can imagine someone having only been reading Phoenix and might only pick up Binary in Age of Revelation. Yeah. So you got to explain what a babble is. I get it.
Yeah. So my theory is that this is Madeline Pryor and she's pissed that she doesn't have the Phoenix Force. Like, why would Jean bestow it upon Carol instead of her?
She doesn't have the Phoenix Force, and she's not in charge of Limbo, because now it's Magic Darkchild, who's got Limbo powers and in running Providence. So
and that'd be interesting. Maybe the reason she wants the power is so she can get Limbo back. She's like, maybe Darkchild deposed her, and she
could be
feels like she needs to get it back, which would be a fun way to cross the two books together.
Next, we get a short scene between Carol and a woman named, I'm going to go with Abby, A-B-I. Seems Carol got annoyed at the town meeting and stormed out. Abby is the town's mayor, and she's been the mayor since before the dome went up 10 years ago. And we're told there haven't been any elections since then. Why not? Why can't the people of Beverly have another election? I mean, they're inside a dome, but so what? Very strange to me.
She suspended the process.
Yeah, which then made me think of, like, Ukraine and how they don't have elections because they're in a state of emergency, and I don't want to make that connection. I think there should have been a reason.
Maybe only half the town is protected.
I don't know.
She's saying, well, they can't all vote, so therefore
I don't know.
Not a democratic process.
Also, Abby looks really young here. Like, was she 12 when she was first elected? Because she looks like she's in her 20s.
Yeah.
But again, the main purpose
just
of the
comics,
scene,
right? They just draw people the way they draw people.
We've got 3 issues to tell the story. We want it to be the same mayor. It's fine. I like to ask questions like that. Main purpose of this scene is to give Carol someone to talk to and someone so that she can express her frustration with the current situation, that she's been having headaches, that the Phoenix is restless, wants to move on, and basically show that Hank and that Shadow Lady have been having some effect on her.
Yeah.
She doesn't know it's them, but that's how it's working. Now in the final scene, that scene gets interrupted because a group of Babbles have broken through the barrier.
And the shadowy figure opens, kind of like dropped the portal a little bit.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, she cast some spell and like cracks
I didn't notice that. Was that part of that snake spell that she cast in that previous scene?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't put that together. But okay, that makes sense. I like that there's some more connection there.
Yeah, because you see the snake running by the foot of the Babel.
Oh, I do see that. Yes, indeed. Either very subtle or I'm just a dummy. Maybe little column A, little column B.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So that's why the Babbles are able to get in now. And that's why the shadowy figure would do this, because she knows that Phoenix Binary is at a low point because of the meeting. So let's just pile on with this crisis.
Yeah.
The Babbles, break in. Jean swoops in and beats up on the Babbles. And on that final page, we see Hank and the Shadow Lady looking on from a nearby rooftop. And that's when we get the reveal that, hey, sure looks like Jean Grey or maybe Madeline Pryor. And yeah, this book doesn't feel central to the overall Age of Revelation story about Doug and Cyclops and all of that, but it's pretty decent. It almost feels like a Twilight Zone story to me, right? Small town, strange happenings, very clearly set in the world of Revelation, but kind of doing its own thing.
Yep.
And there's very much a place for that, given how many books we have. So I want to know what's happening. I want to know what's going on with Hank Guy and Jean or Madeline, whomever. So yeah, we'll be sticking with Binary for the remainder of this event, which I was not expecting. I was expecting to call this a one-shot.
I did too. I was shocked I was like, is this really Stephanie Phillips? I was like, is there like with some other writer? Like, so anyways, I mean, the upside is like, good on you, Stephanie Phillips. And the other upside is, maybe she has the ability to write a pretty good Phoenix story if she could get away from the kind of over the top cosmic stuff that she's been doing in the past.
And the decompression, I think, has been bugging me too. So this is not a decompressed story. It seems to be, there's a particular thing to get done, and we have 3 issues to do it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's happening.
Yeah.
Also,
I also wondered, are Babel's...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, are Babel's carriers of the X-Virus? Because I was like, once they get in, are they just going to spread it?
Darn good question. We don't know how this barrier works, how it keeps out the virus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be another way for the story to go, is this protected area is now infected. And we don't know if that... I don't think that's where they're going, but it could be. Art looking good. She has some new characters to draw. They all look pretty cool. Binary being both the Phoenix and Carol looks correct. I mean, we can tell who she is. Yeah, I think it's a pretty good book. So
actually, I just think this Binary looks way cool. In my opinion, looks way cooler than the revamped Phoenix costume. I really like the outfit.
We know Richard Rider would disagree with you, but he's not in this book. We'll talk about him later.
Yeah, good point. All right.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say I'm giving this a 7.8 out of 10. Not necessary. Yeah. You don't have to read it, but it's a pretty darn good book.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll join you there. Maybe, I'm not going to go issue to issue consistency, but I did like this, so I'll give it a 7.8. Extra 0.3 because I was just so shocked at how I actually enjoyed it and was expecting to drop this book like a hot potato.
Okay, so yeah, and points for us for keeping an open mind and not being prejudiced about a writer who we haven't always liked. So hey, we're honest. Moving on to our next book, which is Laura Kinney, Sabertooth, number 1 of 3. It is written by Erica Schultz, art by Valentina Pinti, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, who I'm pretty sure is still blocking Jim on Twitter, letters by Corey Pettit. And Ruben, you're going to take over this one, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's a pretty fast story. I felt like the story in general was interesting, but some of the emotional beats were teenage level, where I was like, why are these characters fighting? Why are they yelling at each other? And they just have wild mood swings back and forth. So those parts I didn't particularly love, but it was all right. So it takes place in Philadelphia. So I did enjoy this from a perspective of, what do each of these areas in the Revelation territories look like? And
yeah, and it looks pretty nice here.
It looks pretty sweet. Yeah. If you're a mutant and you're living in Philadelphia, you're, I guess, on a Friday night going to the night market and having some food and relaxation.
Nice views of the Delaware River and the bridges and some waterfront property. Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it looks pretty good for those people. So we see some shadowy figures running around, and it's basically Gabby and Akihiro, so Scout and Helverine. And they go to the Philadelphia Naval Yard, and they meet up with Laura Kinney. And there is some kind of tension between these characters where Gabby and Akihiro are kind of pissed at Laura because she has recently become a seraphim of Revelation.
Doug, yeah. So she's a seraph. So she's basically just like Psylocke, one of Doug's
personal guard,
not the ones who power him up. Those are the choristers, but the top level mutants who work for Doug.
Yep, running missions for him and enforcing his agenda, that kind of stuff.
And mostly, she's been the one that when outsiders send assassins and folks in to try to take out Doug, she's been the one who protects him from that. And we've seen that in the Zero issue mostly, I think.
Yep. Yeah. So basically, there's a lot of yelling at each other, and Akihiro's kind of trying to play peacemaker between Gabby and Laura. And we learn that Laura in the 10 years has had a relationship with another mutant named Zane Creed, and they have a son, Alex.
Mm-hmm. Now, I tried like heck to figure out if Zane Creed was an existing character.
Yeah, doesn't appear to be so. Yeah.
Which is kind of weird because we're only 10 years in the future, which means that Zane Creed must have been basically an adult when the timeline branches. So I don't know where it would have popped up, but I guess, Sabertooth could have had, kids here and there and anywhere.
Yeah. I was surprised they just didn't use one of his existing kids, but I guess it would be more shocking if...
right. And they're all, the ones we know of are all kind of villains.
Total jerks,
so if this guy is just brand new, he could have been the good one.
Yeah. So the story is basically that Zane took on the Sabertooth mantle, and somehow Laura Kinney and Zane were fighting something, and Zane got killed. So now she's a single mother with a child.
And that's when she took on the name Sabertooth, kind of in honor of Zane, even though the original Sabertooth was a bad SOB.
Yeah. So then basically she says, hey, can you two, Gabby and Akihiro, take Alex with you when you leave the territories? And they're like, oh, you know about that? They're sort of shocked. And I don't know how she got that information, but
She says later that she got it from Quentin, who got it from his Omega kids.
Okay, got it. So yeah, they're planning to leave, and she doesn't exactly know where, but she thinks that being that close to Revelation is probably not safe for her son, having already lost his spells.
I wasn't sure of that logic. Would she do that? I mean, we don't know her relationship with her kid Alex because we haven't seen him before. Yeah. But the idea that, he'll be safer out away from here rather than in... There's different dangers both places, right?
Yeah.
There's danger out there. There's danger being near Doug. I would think that Laura would say, I can protect you. Stay by me.
Yeah.
But we don't know what's going on, really.
Yeah. And so Alex is a mutant in the sense that he's not at risk of dying from the X-Virus, but he doesn't have any powers, at least, that have manifested. So they're trying to make him just a sympathetic character. He looks a whole lot like Naruto, which, bringing back Naruto again, I was like...
Does, yeah.
It's like exactly Naruto, but
his power is to run with his arms pushed back. But he can do it.
Yeah. If they later say he has like weird fox powers, I'm gonna laugh because that's
he can make multiple images of himself, right?
Yes.
All that stuff. All the jutsu.
Yeah. So then we have like generic fight scene. So Gabby and Laura Kinney get into blows for some reason, which makes no sense to me.
This was the worst scene. I guess we had to have a fight scene, but I don't like the way that Erica Schultz writes dialogue.
Yeah.
Because they're always bickering with each other. It's usually female characters bickering back and forth in a way that I just find unpleasant to read.
Yeah.
So that happened in Magic, and it's happening here as well. They're fighting each other, and the only one that gets injured is Akihiro.
He steps in the middle, tries to break it up. Laura Kinney cuts him, and then he doesn't really totally heal, and she's like,
we're told that his healing factor is taxed because he's always keeping Bagra Ghul at bay, which at least confirms he's still Helverine, but he's like more in control of the whole demon situation now, but it costs him on the healing factor end of things.
Which I kind of thought, like, really, I felt like we've seen him get injured and get healed up because of his demonic healing factor, but we'll see.
Something's changed in the 10 years, which that could happen.
So then there's a hashtag shadowy figure that observes the situation, which turns out to be Hellion. And he takes this information of like Laura Kinney trying to get her daughter like out as like a sign of her betrayal of the Revelation agenda. And so he runs off to Revelation and tells him about it.
Yeah, real tattletale. Not a very sympathetic figure.
No. And then Revelation calls her in for like a meeting, and he tells her like, hey, I know about this, but instead of like saying you're out of the team, he just basically says, well, do you know that they're going where they're going? They're planning to go to Araco, which is not very friendly to Earth mutants anymore.
Yeah, very kind of sneaky motivation here by Doug. We don't really know what he's trying to get done. Is he just trying to help out Laura? Is he just trying to be sneaky and get, maybe access he wants to get Akihiro and Gabby and like capture them? Mm-hmm. Different things could be going on here.
Yeah. So then she flips back and she's like, oh, crap, I got to get Alex back.
Very flighty kind of flip-flop very quickly here by...
And this is a big eye roll for me where I was like, okay, you sent your kid away and you didn't even know where they were going. I mean, this should have been a scene where she asked, okay, where are you guys going, right?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. It really
felt like she was like, good enough for me. Wherever you're going is better than here.
If she was worried about Doug getting the information out of her, she might not want to know, but we don't get the idea that she's worried about Doug. She seems completely loyal to Doug.
Yeah. So she's heading off to kind of try to find these people, hunt them down. And so we
undo what she just did.
Yeah, exactly. So we get like a cut scene back to like, well, where are those people? And it's Akihiro and Gabby with Alex going to the Camden Aquarium, and they meet up with Shark Girl and Sage.
That is a real place. It's right across the Delaware River in New Jersey. Lovely Camden, New Jersey. Not why they call us the Garden State, but okay. I hear the aquarium is nice.
Yeah, yeah.
So there they've got Aki gets his wound treated by Shark Girl.
Yep.
Sage is there. That was kind of fun to see.
Yep, Sage is there, and she says that they have a hard drive with Blink's consciousness in it, which is, I guess, how they're going to teleport to Araco.
Lots of teleporting going on in these books these days today.
So this is kind of one of those things where I was like, do I care how this happens? Not totally. It's kind of cool just to have this idea of like Blink and her personality being in a hard drive. And
because Blink, big deal in Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
And having her name checked here is okay, but exactly what a Blink hard drive is, very hand-wavy.
Yeah, just kind of like, I don't think mutant powers are just your memories in like AI form. It's got to be like DNA, right? But
yeah, is this like a cerebral backup? What are we talking here?
Yeah. So anyways, they're going to take off, I guess. And then the final scene is, Laura's out looking for them and she gets confronted by Hellion.
Hellion being all creepy and possessive and just
yeah, kind of basically like, I know what you're doing and I can protect your kid or I can kill him. And if you want him protected, then you need to get back into a relationship with me. And so instead of that, she just kills him, which I kind of laughed. I was like, okay, well, there goes that conflict.
Yeah, we don't see him dead, but we do see her claws going through. Is that like an X-ray of his? Because we see his heart. So I think that's just showing us, the readers, that his heart is being pierced.
Yeah, I think they're trying to show like, hey, he dead. Just in case you're unsure. Yeah. So that's it. That was it.
So what do you think, Ruben? Should we stick with the last 2 issues of this book, or is it something to drop?
I will read the next one. I mean, it's only 2 issues. I didn't hate it, but of the books, if this turns out this is like too long to record, I would say we could start skipping these. But
or do a 2-minute version, maybe a quick take. Yeah.
But I didn't care too much about this. I was like, it's just an alt version of Laura. She's doing nothing really that interesting, and the emotion's not that believable.
Mm-hmm. So what do you want to give it?
I'll probably give it like a 5.8. It's like very inessential. I guess if you're really excited about this character, you could just read it. And she is wearing a Wolverine costume or a Sabertooth costume, which might interest some people, but nothing really here.
Yeah, I'm at like a 5.5, I guess. I just don't care for the voice that Erica Schultz uses for her characters. The art is fine, but it's nothing to draw me to the book on its own. And yeah, I'm glad to see. Really, the thing is, seeing what Philadelphia is like the major point of this book for me. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I've seen it. And I'll read the other 2, but maybe we give a 2-3 minute synopsis of the next couple issues, unless somehow it decides to become super relevant, which is unlikely. Okay, moving on. Let's go to the last of our Revelation books for this week, which is Longshots #1 of 1. Well, it's 1 of 3, maybe 1 of 1 as far as we're concerned. It's written by a couple of noobs named Duggan and Hickman. Hope they hone their craft a bit before their next outing.
As surprised as I was by Binary, I was equally surprised by this, and I was just shocked at how bad this was. Given who wrote it, I was like, how would you even put your name on this? I just felt like, did they just let somebody else write it and just put their name on this?
Because it is definitely kind of written as a goof, right?
Yeah.
There's no serious world building or Hickman-y stuff or giant ideas. It's just a wacky, LOL, nothing matters humor book.
But also, I mean, it doesn't even follow the rules of the world of Revelation. We have like these human characters entering the Revelation territories. Nothing happens to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the kind of stuff that pisses me off. Like, I hate these events when it reminded me of like Judgment Day, right? Where you had this like very interesting idea, and then some of the side books didn't seem to get the memo as to how things actually work.
Well, let me get the rest of these credits out, then we can kick this book some more. The art is by Alan Robinson, and I don't have anything bad to say about the art. Colors are by Yen Nitro, who I think was an American Gladiator back in the day. Letters by Ariana Mayer. So
is that a joke or true?
There was an American Gladiator.
I remember there was a Nitro. Yes,
I'm pretty sure it's not the same one.
Okay, because I've heard that joke before on different shows, and I'm like,
it's probably a joke Jim made.
I'm starting to think it's actually true.
Jim and I kind of share the same cultural background, it seems, so we make some of the same jokes. It's very meta. It's very much its own world, commenting on the world of comics more than anything actually tied into the world of Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
Jokes about big media companies recycling their IP over and over. That was kind of funny because it's true. Mention of artist Art Adams, who created Mojo along with writer Ann Nesenti. And humor books are very personal, right? If the humor clicks with you, you're going to love it. And if it doesn't click, there's just no other thing to latch on to because that's all it is.
Yeah.
And with me,
I think I had like 1 or 2 chuckles, and I just was like, oh, God, not worth it.
I did like the bit where Mojo is looking at a tablet that has all of the alternate covers for this issue.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like the mention of Art Adams. Mojo, the story here is that Mojo was looking for ratings on the cheap, and so he decides to put on a reality show, which already feels dated because I feel like the heyday of the reality show was like 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So already kind of feeling dated. And the reality show is going to be putting together a team to go into, I guess, Revelation territory and destroy something called the power plant, which I don't know exactly why he wants them to destroy the power plant, but he's going to put on a reality TV show about it and get some cheap ratings.
That's an interesting, that is kind of a callback to Age of Apocalypse. So that's where the Sugar Man was. He was in this power plant for the Apocalypse world. But
that makes sense.
I'm guessing that's a reference to that.
Okay. Thanks for adding that. I would not have picked up on that.
But I don't know why the X-Babies are here.
Well, because it's Mojo, and that's when it's a joke. They got to show up.
Yeah, God.
I did kind of chuckle when they were announcing what the prize was if the team does destroy the power plant, and it just cuts away in the comic, and we don't get to see what the prize is. Just switch away to a different panel. So we get Hellcat is kind of the head of this team. She's a bounty hunter. She teams up with Bishop, and she doesn't really care about the TV show. She just wants an excuse to go blow shit up in Revelation territory.
Yeah.
She recruits Kraven, and she recruits Rhino. And the joke is that Kraven stole Rhino's horn and is kind of grinding it up and snorting it like cocaine. But isn't the horn just a costume, so it's not real Rhino horn?
Yes.
I didn't get that.
Yes.
I did laugh at the joke that he had killed 4 versions of Jeff the Landshark.
I think that might have been the joke I laughed at.
Not enough. None of them are actually Jeff. Jeff. There's Hefe and Jeff with a G, like a Toys R Us, and Jeff with an apostrophe, like it's a Shiar.
Yeah.
I laughed at those.
And Rhino and Hellcat are not mutants. Neither is Kraven.
Okay. Yeah, they should have mentioned something about, Mojo gives you a protective whatever, but yeah, so that's just how this ends, is they're going to be sent back or sent into that territory and going to try to blow this thing up.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't land with me, has nothing to do with the main story, clearly not going to be relevant to what Scott and Doug are doing. The final panel joke is Longshot himself in the audience, mad that Mojo is using his name for this reality show without paying him. Spiral, the chick with all the arms, is there with him. I enjoyed the art. Alan Robinson drawing a ton of characters, and I think striking a good balance of comedic versus not over-the-top art-wise. I just don't like the jokes here. I'm probably not going to read any more of it, so I'm just going to call it a 5 out of 10 and say, not for me. Maybe big Mojo fans are going to enjoy this, but I am not a big Mojo fan. How about you?
Yeah. I'm not going to cancel it because I'm obsessed about collecting everything for this series. So I'll tell you if anything happens, but awesome. I was actively angry at this issue. And
actively angry? What does that count as number-wise?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3. I thought this was trash. And I felt like X-Factor, which we lampooned for however many issues that lasted, was shockingly funnier compared to this.
And it definitely has an X-Factor kind of feel to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just, the jokes were not good. Just way over the top. And I was really hoping that Hickman was going to say, I've always thought the Mojo verse and the character design are intriguing, and they just need somebody to really make it a little bit more serious and interesting. And they went the opposite direction
here.
Yeah, they really went the opposite direction. So I was super disappointed that this wasn't the, redefining Mojo for the next generation issue.
Yep. It is just for yucks. And if you think this is funny, have a good time with it. Okay, that is the last of our X books for the week, last of our Revelation books. We got one more thing to talk about, and that is Imperial War, Imperial Guardians, which is written by Dan Abnett and one of the writers of Longshots #1, Jonathan Hickman. Art by Corey Smith, and on his pages, he has Wayne Foucher doing inks, and in other pages, it's Luca Maresca, who I guess is doing all his own inks. And I wonder if that's why this book was delayed a week. Maybe there was something held up in the art. Colors are by Espen Grundetjern. I have no idea if I'm saying that correctly. I did a Google search to try to find a video of his name. Didn't find one. But I did find that there's at least 2 separate people in this world named Espen Grundetjern. One being a comic book colorist, and the other is a jazz musician. Mm. And Ruben, if those 2 turn out to be the same person, I'm going to call him the new most interesting person in the world, because jazz musician / comic book colorist.
Yeah,
that's a cool dude. I want to have a drink with you, man.
It's believable. I can't imagine either of those is actually a high-paying job, so maybe together it's enough to live on.
You can imagine him like travels and he brings his drawing tablet with him, right? Yeah. You could do that on the road.
Yep.
I could write a whole mini-series, live action about this. He probably also solves crimes, right? On the side.
Mm-hmm.
Espen Grundet Yearn, call me dude, I want to hang out. Either of you, either the three of us can get together. It'll be a good time. I'll buy the drinks, which will all be tea because I have plenty of tea, but let me know. And letters by Corey Pettit. So another pretty darn good book. This is the final one-shot filling that gap between Imperial 3 and Imperial number 4. And while this one takes place in the relative past compared to the rest of the story, it's also pretty strongly relevant to that overall plot. We open the book and immediately find a cast of characters, and these characters are on the cover of the book in shadow, so I should not have been surprised, but I guess I didn't look too closely at the cover because I was surprised. These characters are Gamora, that's Thanos' adopted daughter, now his enemy. We have Captain Marvel. Hey, we know her. Also, she'll be turning to the Phoenix any time now, but that's a different book. We have Kl'rt, a.k.a. the Super Skrull, that Skrull champion who can imitate the powers of the Fantastic Four. And finally, we have Darkhawk. And I've got that written down because I always get his name wrong, and I want to call him Black Hawk or Dark Black or Dark Knight, but this is Darkhawk. Ruben, you a big, long-time Darkhawk fan?
It came out when I was into Marvel. Mm-hmm. I don't think I actually jumped on that one, though. That was not the new. I was more like New Warriors, but he certainly was like around and very popular. So I've never really been super into him, but I'm aware of him at least.
So the idea is that the Darkhawk android was created by the Shi'ar a hell of a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And they also created the special amulet, and using the amulet allows someone to, depending on the series, either wear and use the Darkhawk armor or to switch places with the Darkhawk android. It's complicated. It's been retconned a couple times, but that's kind of how it works. And they're always hinting that they're going to reveal the mystery, and they never actually get to it. Now, I actually reviewed the most recent Darkhawk series, the one written by Kyle Higgins, with Jim on the regular Marvel show back in 2021.
Yeah.
Now, in that series, the original Darkhawk was dead and had given the amulet away to somebody else, but this issue appears to retcon away that entire series, so let's not worry about that.
So it's back to the original character.
It's back to Christopher Powell. He still has the amulet. So
he's the police officer, or is that the second one?
He was the son of a police officer.
Okay.
And was his dad a dirty cop? Was his dad undercover trying to catch dirty cops? His dad ended up being in the armor that was his main bad guy or anti-hero kind of villain.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think it was one of those stories that never gets resolved. It was always teasing one more reveal. Oh, how are they going to explain this? And I don't think they ever do. So that's Darkhawk. Okay, how about some plot? This entire issue takes place between 6 and 8 months, specifically before the beginning of Imperial number 1. And it's really all about that Varanke thing. We know that the Game Master has been riling up all of the cosmic powers in this part of the galaxy, and specifically the way he riles up the Skrulls is by using their beloved prophetess Varanke, who mostly is associated with the Secret Invasion event from 2008. Her story has been messed with and retconned a couple times as well. As far as the wiki is concerned, she's still alive, maybe on Earth in prison. She kind of messed with Spider-Woman for a while. But in this book, everyone thinks she's dead, assumes she's dead, except now she's rumored to not be dead, and stories of her popping up here and there have kind of getting the Skrulls hopped up a little bit, and we know that in the present day of the story, they are going to break their alliance with the Kree and all that stuff on board that ship with Xandra. So back in the past, 8 months ago, these rumors of Varanke are swirling around, Skrulls getting restless, and people start noticing. 3 people in particular, these being Captain Marvel, Gamora, and Darkhawk. So long story short, these 3 bump into each other out there in Cosmic Land, decide to work together, or at least keep each other apprised as to what they find out. Meanwhile, Kl'rt, Super Skrull, he hears the rumors of Varanke's return as well. He goes looking for her. He finds her in a place called Usik, except he's kind of skeptical, has some doubts that she's the real deal, right? They're Skrulls. You can't go by appearances. And he's right to have those doubts because it turns out she is one of those Shi'ar hobgoblins. Remember those?
Yep. Which we had known that detail, but
did we? Okay.
We didn't know that he knew that.
I had forgotten that, so it was another surprise for me.
Yeah.
We knew that it was going to be some sort of game master thing, but I don't know if we knew specifically it was a hobgoblin.
Because we saw it from the perspective of the Shi'ar and the Emperor that has taken over the Shi'ar from Lilandra and all them.
Okay,
basically, it was his plot.
3?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, it was his plot to like disrupt things.
Oh, okay. It certainly makes sense. So this is found out by Gamora and Darkhawk, and then the Super Skrull comes back in, sees the fake. He kills the fake Veranke, that hobgoblin. But this is the twist. He also doesn't want word to get out that she was a fake. That would bring shame and dishonor to the Skrulls to have been tricked like that by a Shi'ar of all things. So the Super Skrull's plan is to kill Gamora and Darkhawk, and then he himself is going to take over impersonating Veranke. Kind of wacky, kind of cool. I like it. Gamora and Darkhawk themselves are no match for the Super Skrull, but they manage to stun him with an explosion, a lot like Wolverine back in that story. They escape back to their ship. They want to send this new info to Carol Danvers so that word can get out about what's really going on, but somebody is waiting there in the ship for them. Well, 2 people. The first is Maximus the Mad, Inhuman, brother of Black Bolt, and the guy who started the wager with Game Master that kicked this off. Yeah. And Maximus does not want it known that Veranke was fake.
Yeah.
So some people I saw complaining, this story should have been told earlier, but you couldn't have done that without ruining the reveal of Maximus. And I think having the real reveal be done the way it was in Imperial number 3 was the way to go. So having this be kind of a flashback and a tie-in issue, perfectly okay with.
Yeah.
So Maximus wants to stop these guys, and how is he going to stop them? Well, he has... Who does he have working for him, Ruben?
Yeah, it's Cosmic Ghost Rider, which I thought was a future character, so I'm not sure why he's here, but he is here.
Well, he's a character who had been created in the future, but then he did come back to the present day of the Marvel Universe.
Okay.
So
I have not read that series. Okay, so he is in this timeline.
Yeah, he kind of moves around very freely in the timeline.
Got it.
So there's no issue with him being here.
Future Frank Castle, right, is the...
Right.
Who became Ghost Rider, is that the idea?
Yeah, it's a Donny Cates character who was briefly a very big deal in like 2017 through 2019 before Donny Cates kind of, stuff happened. He's a future version of Frank Castle who has both Ghost Rider powers and the power Cosmic, because he was a Ghost Rider and he was also a Herald of Galactus. Why not? Why he's working for Maximus now, I have no guesses there. Maybe we'll find out. Maximus
it's cool
tells
character design for sure. So
yeah, that's for sure.
That's why he exists.
Exactly, he exists to be basically a statue by who's the artist who makes all the statues? The image guy. Yeah, he exists to be a statue. Makes a cool statue. So Maximus tells Frank to murder Gamora and Darkhawk to death. Frank seems to do it. He blasts them with his cosmic demon blasters, and that's where the issue ends. So, yeah. Ruben, do you think that Darkhawk and Gamora are really dead?
No, because they made a big point to remind everybody that Darkhawk trades places with the cyborg. So I think that's how he gets back. And then I was trying to figure out like what the angle is for bringing Gamora back, but I was like, well, she's always connected with the Soul Stone, so maybe there's something there.
Could be,
but
also,
I think like story-wise, I think they're out of this story.
Probably because the information does not get out to the rest of the universe in the 6 months it takes to get to Imperial number 1.
Right.
So at the very least, they are kind of stuck here.
Out for 6 months, yeah.
Also, Maximus said to them right before having them blasted that he has a use for them, which I have a use for you, but now I want you killed. So I don't really quite get that.
I think he basically said, hey, I need you not to spoil this. It's going to ultimately lead to the continuation of the Galactic Union, which they also want to preserve. And then they basically tell him, he's like, I don't want to kill you because you're like obviously useful. But then they say, like, we're not going to like listen to you, Maximus. And at that point, he says, kill him. So I think he was more like, you seem like useful people, so I'm not going to kill you.
Chance,
yeah, but then when they reject him, he's like, okay, fine. Well, ultimately, I just don't want the information out.
We do know that there is an Imperial Guardians title coming early 2026. We don't know the cast of characters there, but I was wondering if that would be the team in that book. Maybe it'll be, maybe that's where the Inhumans are going to be. because we've been wondering, the Inhumans turn out to be such a huge part of this new cosmic order, but they don't have a title of their own yet.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where they're going to be, and maybe that's where Gamora and Darkhawk pop up again.
Yeah. And I was thinking maybe Maximus wasn't lying here. Maybe his idea is like, oh yeah, he wants there to be union. He just wants it to be under the control of the Inhumans.
Certainly could be. But yeah, I like this a lot. I makes sense with what we've known. I did go back and saw that Super Skrull. I always get those confused. Super Skrull does appear in Imperial #1, which is 6 months in the future from this point. Mm-hmm. He's just in that crowd scene right before the big assassination happens.
Mm-hmm.
So he's there. So he's kind of still keeping the Varanke thing going in that whole time, and he's showing up at this meeting, which I think really puts his presence there in a new light, which I enjoy.
Yep.
I had a fun time. I'm looking forward to see what the new what this book turns into in winter 2026. I don't know if it's going to be written by Dan Abnett, but hey, why not? I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10. How about you, my friend?
I liked it, but I was a little bored until the end. So I'm just going to give it a solid 7. But
okay.
The developments were cool. The twist at the end was decent. There just was a lot of just stuff that I was just like, what is this what is this book trying to accomplish as a point until the very end?
Maybe I enjoyed it more because I had forgotten that the Varanke thing was already explained. To me, that was a new twist. Oh boy, exciting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, could be.
Okay. That is that. That was our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books plus the Infinity title. That was a lot to talk about, Ruben. But I think we got through them okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about next week. Next week, we have 4 books again, and they seem to be doing like one main flagship type title every week. So next week is Unbreakable X-Men #1, which is by Gail Simone, the AOR version of Uncanny. We're outside of the Revelation territory, so that should be interesting. We haven't been there yet. Lucas Wernick on art, so it should look amazing. The solicit talks about Penumbra, so maybe Penumbra will make more sense 10 years from now than it does in the present. Looking forward to that. The next book is Iron and Frost #1 by Cavan Scott. We don't know. Is Tony dead? Is Tony a mutant? Let's find out. Next is Sinister's 6 #1, a wacky old team led by Mr. Sinister. His team is Black Cat, Domino, Omega Red, Phantom X, and Venom. That seems like you just hit the random button on the fandom wiki 6 times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's written by David Marquez, who's generally an artist, not a writer.
Mm-hmm.
So can this artist write? Let's find out. And finally, we'll have Rogue Storm #1 by, of course, Morewa Ayodele, who's been writing Storm since From the Ashes began. Rogue is leading a team on a mission to kill Storm. This team includes Gateway, Iceman, Phantom X, Spiral, and Warpath. Hey, how can Phantom X be on 2 teams at once? I guess we'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're finding out all those crazy things about Phantom X, Ruben, what should our loyal listeners do until the Age of Revelation comes about?
Mm-hmm. I would say read more X-Men comics, but I feel like we're getting enough this week that you could just wait until tomorrow.
Maybe just take a nap. Have a cup of tea. Bye, everybody.
Get ready, everyone, and you just might survive. Ruben and Jason are here with their X-Men deep dive. Going through all the X-books is their mission, so get ready for the learned edition. Things are getting weird in here. Ruben hopes another sword book gets announced this year. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow, except your mind. It's the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men comic show. It's the Weird Dose of X, guaranteed not to blow, except your mind.
I like it, though. I listen to it every week.
Power fantasy my ass.